Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for attending. We're just going to be getting started in the next couple of minutes, so sit tight as we wait for a couple more people to trickle in. Hi, everyone, and welcome to IMI Next Wave, the power of brand. My name is Jonah Pulai, and I am the content lead here at IMI International. Just wanted to thank you all for registering and taking the time to be here today. We have a lot of great insights and content that we're going to be walking through today. And it's great to see some familiar names as well as some new names to IMI Next Wave's content series. For those that are a little bit more new to IMI, we are a global independent strategic marketing insights consultancy with a core purpose of insight driving profit. Our focus is to work really closely with all of our clients to uncover the needed insight to make really strong decisions that will ultimately drive your ROI. And we partner with approximately 150 clients on an annual basis globally across multiple industries, whether that be for a singular niche need or every step of the way from discovery to confirmation to continuous optimization. Most of the sources from today's insights come from IMI's innovative Pulse tools, where we are able to uncover who to focus on, how to connect, where to be, and what to say. IMI Next Wave's thought leadership continuously dives into key questions that our clients are always asking about today and that our team continues to be curious about. Fact-based insight to drive your profit. As always, all of our content from today's presentation, as well as previous presentations, you can find on IMI's global content portal, which you can locate at content.consultimi.com. If you have any questions throughout the duration of the presentation, please feel free to use the Q&A button located at the bottom of your screen, as we will be having a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. If you have any questions after the presentation, please still feel free to reach out directly to us, as we're always looking to answer your questions and facilitate a meaningful conversation. Finally, you will be expecting today's presentation to come into your inboxes early next week. And without further ado, let me introduce Vanessa Topperzer, Senior Vice President of IMI International, to kick off the power of brand.
Thank you so much, Jonah, for that incredible introduction. I'll see you in a bit. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining the power of brand today. We're really excited to get started. And as Jonah said, thank you so much to those who keep on coming back for more and all the new faces in the crowd. We're happy that you're joining us today. So in this 30-minute presentation, we're going to illustrate the power that building a brand has to drive your business forward. So there's going to be 4 key sections, including one, we're just going to land the definition so that we're all talking in the same language of what does brand mean to people? The second is, why should you care? What is the impact of brand on your business? What are the proof points for why you should actually care in investing to build your brand? And what matters? So where to focus while you're building? We're going to give you some really pragmatic insight there. And section 3 is the North Star. What is the ultimate value of building a brand to your business? And then we're going to wrap it up with Q&A. We have some questions that came through upon registration, so thank you so much. And then hopefully we have some questions that come in during the presentation. So let's get into it. Let's land the definition and the importance of brand. So brand, by definition, in the dictionary, is a type of product manufactured by a particular company under a particular name. So that's in the dictionary. But when you ask people what in their words is a brand, it's similar, but slightly different. It's a name, it's a company, and it's a product. So let's dig into this a little bit more. What do people think of when they think of Nike? They think of, this is unaided. They think of a sports brand. They think of shoes. They think of clothing. They think of Air Jordan, a logo, Just Do It, a product. The product is the brand. Sports, clothing, shoes, that's the brand. That's Nike. And Nike is the name associated with everything that's part of that business. What do people think about when they think about Apple? They think about iPhone, phone, iPad, product, music, service. It's the same thing. The product is the brand. And the last one, what do people think of when they think of McDonald's? Burger, food, French fry. I personally think about cheeseburger. They're my favorite. And restaurant also comes up. So the product is the brand, and the restaurant, the service, is also the brand. So the brand is the name associated with your product or service. The reality is that it's all the components of your business that are consumer facing or customer facing, depending on what side of the business you're in. It's your name associated with what you deliver and what is in front of your consumer base. There are so many reasons why you should care. And this is all unbiased insight showing us why you should care and what really matters to work your way into people's lives. So we're going to show you why. What are the benefits of a brand? And do people purchase because of it? Obviously, I'm leading the witness, but let's get into it. Out of over 102 purchase drivers measured, and this is within our GenPulse database, and these are constantly updated through consumer feedback. Price plays a critical role in driving purchase. So these are the top 5 tactics that drove purchasing in the last year. 2 of the 5 are related to price because they offer free shipping, because it's a special price for a limited time. And you would argue that perhaps Amazon is also built on price. That's a pretty scary place to be from an ROI perspective. People are always going to be driven by price. However, brand makes it into the top 5 with number 3 coming in, and this is in the US and in Canada, because it's a trusted brand name. So I purchased because it's a trusted brand name. 7 in 10 Canadians purchased in the last year because it's a trusted brand name. 7 in 10 Americans purchased in the last year because it's a brand they trust, or it's a trusted brand name. Trust is integral across the board, and it's universal across country lines, across generations. Don't lose it if you have it. And if you don't have it, figure out how you can build it. Building a trusted brand drives purchase. If you don't have a trusted brand, then you only have price. And that's a really tough way to maximize revenue and profit potential. So trust can keep you, or it can get you in the game. 56% of people will never buy from a brand, product, or service they don't trust. That's extremely powerful. It's built on everything you demonstrate to people. It's not just lip service. You have to walk the walk when you're building trust. It's actions versus words. Words matter, but if your actions don't match the words that you're saying, you're not going to build trust. You're going to lose it pretty fast. It's difficult to get back. So it can be gained. 146 million people have built or gained trust in a brand in the last year. So like anything, it's never too late to start. there is always room to start, and there's always room to keep building. But on the flip side, it can be lost. It takes about 4.5 to 5 years to build ultimate trust in a brand, and you can lose it really quickly. Your actions matter. Trust can be lost, as we see here with using Facebook as an example. From 2019 to 2022, they've lost trust in their brand, and it's not easy to get back. So think about, what are you doing to build trust? If it's in the top 5 purchase drivers, it defends against price, that is really up there in terms of purchase drivers, really 3 of the top 5. What are you doing to build brand trust? So let's look at a few other brand related drivers of purchasing. Building a personality, and there's always the conversation about functional or emotional, functional or emotional. I've been in them many times. Building a personality or emotion around your brand will impact purchasing. So brand I trust is not the only brand focused driver of purchase. Let's look at the other ones that rose to the top. Coming in at number 9 overall is brand that makes me feel good about myself. Half the people in the US, and this is the same in Canada, will purchase because a brand makes me feel good, makes them feel good about themselves. Well, there are slight nuances that you can see on the right-hand side with the different generations. Feeling good really isn't generational. So when you're thinking about the focus of your brand, focus on the benefits to people. If you're going to focus on image, ensure that it's positive. And communication has the same rule. This is why negative advertising, or we are better in comparison to, it rarely works. Stand on your own 2 feet, talk about the benefit your brand has to people, but do it in a positive way. People respond to positive energy. It's like a rally cry. Can brand become a brand badge, an extension of self? It can. It depends on the generation. So 30% purchase because I like to be seen using this brand or product. And this is, again, very consistent, the US and Canada. So feeling good may not be generational, but outward image is absolutely driven by the younger demographics. Half of Gen Z purchases are driven by image. Gen Z puts a lot of weight into what other people think about them. So as they're looking for their own individuality, it is about assimilating into the crowd as well. And then look at boomers. I like to be seen, they don't care. It doesn't matter. But does the product make them feel good? And do they trust them? That will hold so much more weight with this generation. So brand as it relates to pumping your image is not integral, but if you're looking to do it, focus in on the younger generations and don't waste your time on the others. So purchase driving tactics beyond price, they are essential to drive purchase for your brand. Accelerating your brand is critical. Brands matter. They drive preference, they drive purchase, they build emotion, and they become an extension of oneself. And brands matter across all age groups, not just youth. Okay, so what else can having a trusted brand do? What is the impact to your brand? We know it drives purchase, we know it drives preference. What else can it do, and where are the benefits? It defends against price. 100 million people in the US have purchased a brand they trust versus a competitor on sale. So think about that for a minute. In a climate where financial need is in the utmost importance right now, 100 million people will go towards a brand they trust, even if there's a competitor on sale. So think on shelf. How do you make sure your brand is selected so that you don't have to be on sale 80% of the time? So you don't have to be on sale 50% of the time, and you can defend against price. It sells new product and drives trial. 140 million people will buy a new product from a brand they trust. So think about it, as you extend your portfolio and as you extend your revenue streams, if you build trust in your brand with one product, they're more likely to trust you with a new product that comes into the market. You're let off the hook easier after a bad experience. If someone has used your brand for a decade, 28% say, well, every brand has a bad day. You're excused. 18% will say it if they've used the brand a few times. More people will forgive you following a bad experience. 26% of people who have used you for a decade say if they respond to their mistake, I'll likely use them more in the future, versus 18 who have only used you a few times. And the same thing, I will just continue to use you again. 20% will continue to use you again after a bad experience versus 9 if they've only used you a few times. So building brand trust and building a strong brand has impact. 78% will pay more for a brand I trust. But how much? And obviously, if the category is not 100% a commodity, you can't just go and now go and charge more right after this presentation. You have to understand your pricing elasticity. But the fact is that 78% will pay more for a brand I trust. So there's more movement. In fact, more than half will pay 25% more for a brand they trust. Again, it doesn't mean you can get off this call and go and charge 25% more. You need to offer competitive value, but know that if you are a brand they trust versus one they don't, or they don't know as well, there's room for you to move. And finally, people will go out of their way to get to you. In this busy, busy world that we live in right now, getting anyone to make that extra step and go out of their way is not easy. But if they trust your store, if they trust you, 74% will travel further. And in fact, 52% will travel 20 minutes further. Trust is strong. So let's dive into this one for a minute, because this one is really interesting. You can drive people to make extra effort, and think about, in this world, everything is immediate. No one wants to make the extra effort, but you can drive people to make the extra effort to purchase immediate sales while simultaneously building your brand for longevity. Do you want to know how? 80 drivers analyzed. So this is what we did. We took 80 drivers that over our years of work, we have seen, analyzed, clients have talked about it, we've researched it, from quality to seeing it on shelf, to endorsements, to the use of TikTok, a depth of drivers. And we tested this with over 2,000 people across 2 dimensions. One is, will this make you go out of your way to purchase a product or service or a brand? And so that's immediate sales. And or will it build and accelerate trust? So brand building for now, but also for the future. Here's where we net out. The bottom left-hand quadrant is it doesn't build trust or encourage people to go out of their way to purchase. And the top is it will make them go out of their way to purchase and it builds trust. That's really the sweet spot of where you want to be. So this is where you want to avoid. These, and there's many other within there, but these are the key that do not build trust or encourage people to purchase. So let's look at them just for a minute. Offers no refunds and only exchanges. Means you have their money. What's in it for them? Where's their proof point? Actors endorse it. It doesn't mean that influencers and athletes and actors don't work. They definitely have their place and context to work within, but people won't necessarily go out of their way, and it doesn't necessarily build trust. Advertise on TikTok, advertise on Facebook, advertise on Instagram. That's the medium. The medium doesn't make people go out of their way, and the medium doesn't build trust. It's the message that does that. And offers a chance to win $1 billion. We've seen this so much. We've tested this continuously, but in fact, that actually makes you look more suspicious. It's too far out of reach. No one will believe that you'll win $1 billion. So focus here. These are the tactics that will make people go out of their way to purchase, and they build brand trust. Offer quality, drive trial, money back guarantee. What do you have to lose to stand by your product or service? Responsiveness, build a relationship. Brand I use since childhood, get into their lives earlier so they know you. You can build trust with them, and then they stay with you for the long haul. These are the top tactics that will make people go out of their way to purchase, and they also build brand trust. So start doing, if you're going to focus somewhere, focus on quality product. Get that product or service into people's hands. Get them to try you. Stand behind what you are providing and what you are selling. Be responsive. Start that relationship. If you're a small brand, start that relationship, that one-on-one with people. Be responsive to their needs and deliver consistently on promises. Do what you say you're going to do, and don't let people down. So brand is functional and rational. Brand is emotional. It's clear that they drive preference, they drive purchase, they build emotion, and they become an extension of oneself, depending on the generation. It defends against price, sells and drives trial. It lets you off the hook easier, and everyone has a bad day. So how great is it if you're let off the hook? You can demand more money within reason, and it brings people out of their way to get to you. Who doesn't want people to go out of their way to get to you? So these are all unbiased proof points, fact-based from consumers, isolating the significant impact on consumer behaviors when you build a brand and when you build a trusted brand. Over the past 3 decades, we have constantly been asked, why build brand? Why spend so much money? What if I did nothing? Is this really the best use of money? Can I justify this spend? Does it really pay off? So let's prove it pays off. Why does it really matter? Let's talk about the North Star. The North Star is favorite brand, and understanding that not everyone can get there, but everyone has to have a North Star, favorite brand, and we'll tell you why. In 2010, unaided, the all-time favorite brand, product, or service, Walmart, Coke, Sony, you recognize most of these names. And this is in Canada, but it's not that different in the US. In 2022, there are some similar suspects, and there are some new joiners to the game. Netflix, Samsung shows its face. So a little bit of difference, some similarity, but here's the money. When favorite brands stand the test of time, many favorite brands stand the test of time once they've reached their status. So brands from 10 years ago are all still in the top 25, 12 years later. And remember, this is unaided, top of mind. And the same rings true when we look at it in the US. So favorites do change. They're volatile, goes up and down. But if you were in the top 10 in 2010, you are in the top 25 in 2022, 12 years later. So proof point 1, a favored brand today has longevity and resiliency. And in a world where there are constant challenges that are thrown at us, doesn't every brand want longevity and resiliency? So top brands stand the test of time, but does building your brand provide a positive ROI? Does it pay off? How do you prove this out to your CMO and your CFO, who obviously is focused on the most productive way to spend your dollars? This is how you fight for your budget. Does it pay off? So the second question we had, the first was, does it have longevity and resiliency? And what does that look like when you reach this status? The second is, does being a consumer favorite brand accelerate share price performance beyond major stock indexes? So the key test was, compare the growth and decline in share price over a 5-year period. So the same 5-year period from July 5 years ago to July now. So compare the growth of the top 10 unaided favorite brands in Canada and in the US separately, the growth of the NASDAQ, growth of Dow 30, growth in the TSX 60 for Canada, obviously, specifically. So what do you think? Favorite brands, share price performance versus Dow 30, so the 30 largest stocks, and NASDAQ over the past 5 years is: 1, favorite brand significantly outperforms both. 2, it performs equally to both. Or it underperforms relative to each or to both. What do you think? Favorite brands' 5-year growth surpasses the market by 200 to 700%. This is the 5-year stock price. This is taking the top 10 favorite brands and their growth versus the major indices. That's performance driven by brand. There is monetary value in driving your brand and looking to reach your North Star, but there's also monetary value as you make your way there. And the growth is consistent with favorite brands in the US. It's the same thing. Building strong brands, it pays back. So building a favorite brand drives loyalty, resiliency, profitability. And isn't that what we all want? So you can continue to invest in your business, and share price. So at the end of the day, the so what is building brand drives monetary value. And we can take that to the bank. So what now? What do I do with all of this information and all of this insight? 1, first of all, build brand trust. If you do anything, make sure you are taking the steps and you are focused on the areas that build brand trust. And or build an emotional connection. They don't have to be different. They can both be built to strengthen your brand. And this will protect, defend, and drive purchase for your brand, as we saw the major proof points before. 7 in 10 buy because of trust, 50% because it makes them feel good, 30% because they like being seen using it, higher with younger generations. One foot in front of the other, focused on the right things, will drive you forward profitably. And ultimately, we all have to have a North Star, reaching for the North Star being favorite brand to drive loyalty, resiliency, profitability, and share price. That's where you want to be. Ultimately, there is power in brand. So now I'm going to ask Jonah to join me. And I know that we have some questions, Jonah, that came in upon registration. And I see that there are some questions that have come in. That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yes, and thank you so much, Vanessa. That was an amazing presentation. I think I can speak for all the attendees here that we all understand the power of brand now, which is amazing. So starting off with questions that came in through registration, if possible, can you distinguish between private label brands that behave like CPG brands, for example, President's Choice, versus CPG brands? And do consumers apply the same selection criteria to PC? Which private label brands have this type of stature?
Yeah, so it's a constant conversation with private label, and everyone loves to separate private label from major brands, but the fact is, private label is a mainstream brand. So you need to apply the same principles, you need to apply the same tactics as you do in building a brand. They're interchangeable. Private brand, when it first came out, did react a little bit differently. However, now they're tried and true. They've been around for a long time. Everyone has one. They are expected to act very similar, if not exactly the same as a brand. That's just really the way that trade talks about it, private label versus mainstream. But the reality is, from a consumer lens, they're one and the same.
Thank you. And why does lowest price always win?
Yeah, that's a big one as well. So lowest price will win maybe in volume, but it's not necessarily going to win in ROI and brand health. So when you're always on sale, it's a really, really slippery slope, because always on sale means that your sale price is actually your real price. So you have to be careful how much you are on sale, because you'll train the consumer to think that your sale price is your real price. So, and brand building, I mean, as we saw, it defends against price. You can charge more when you have a strong brand, but $5 off a 2 for a beer is going to drive beer purchase. It's going to do it. It's going to drive your volume, but it might not necessarily drive your profitability. So you have to balance the two. Price is a tactic that you have in your arsenal. It's not necessarily a strategy by which to build your brand. You have to find the right balance within your brand set so you can do both.
100%. And I definitely agree that balance is key. And just moving into some questions that have come in through the audience. What about small brands? If you don't have a large budget, how can you build trust?
Yeah, so that's exactly why I said, think of favorite brand as your North Star. I mean, those brands have a lot of money behind them. They've been tried and true. A lot of them have been around for a while. Some of them haven't, but they do have money to push behind them. When you're a small brand, the best way to get your name out there and the best way to build trust is that one-on-one connection. So look at your audience and focus on the 10% of the category that spends 50%. So really be targeted with who you're talking to and be really strategic on who it is you're looking to reach, and build that one-on-one connection. Because if you think about a relationship just in person, you build trust over time with that one-on-one relationship. So if you are extremely targeted and you do small steps, you get your product in their hands, you're highly responsive, you're extremely positive to their needs, and you deliver a quality product at the end of the day, those are the things that are going to build your brand if you're small and you don't have a massive budget. And when you do that, the people that you've built your brand with, they're going to stick with you. So they're going to stick with you for the longevity of time. So does that help in terms of building a small brand? It's a tricky one because not a lot of brands have money, but the proof points in this presentation as well, and this is what we were so fascinated by as we were doing all the work, is that there are really clear proof points to take to the CMO, to take to your CFO, or if you are the CMO, to say, I need to have budget behind my brand. I need to build my brand. How are we going to do it?
I think that definitely helps answer the question, and it'll be interesting to see how brands continue to build those connections and those relationships as we continue to transition back to more live and in person and quote unquote normal. Another question that we got is, how do brands gradually increase prices yet continue to build brand loyalty and gain the trust of their customer base?
Yeah, that's a really tricky one, because when you first come out, you don't want to price yourself out of the category. So you have to make sure that you're offering competitive value. So when you come out, you have to you want to come out at a price point where you're not going to undersell yourself at first. And then as you build as well, you have to build trust in the brand through the quality, through the customer experience, through getting it in their hands so they can actually try it, through standing behind your product. So while you're playing with price, make sure you do all of those things, because it's not mutually exclusive. You can do both. I hope, Vivian, that answers your question. And if not, happy to talk offline about it in detail.
And what would you say are the immediate action steps a brand should take to restore trust that is lost? What tactics resonate best with consumers?
Yeah, so this is in our Trust Exposed webinar that we had, and I can actually send this deck out as well. We showed exactly how long it takes to build trust, and that's where the 4.5 to 5 years comes in. But you can lose trust in an instant. So in terms of getting it back, there are 60% of people that you can get it back. There are 40% that they're going to be harder to move. 30% of those will probably just come back to you again with a little bit of potentially action, like apologizing for it, maybe doing something in return. So they will take less effort. There are 30% that you need to spend more effort, and there are key things that you do need to do, like apologizing, giving them something for it, like a make good, moving forward on your customer service, being extremely responsive to their needs. We have a whole list of things that we can actually send so that you can understand what are the steps you need to take to get it back, because you can. If you have a trusted brand, you're more likely to get it back than if you're a brand that they're using just for the first time. But there are key steps you can take to get it back from some, but not all. There are people that you will lose.
Of course, it's inevitable. It's impossible to keep everyone and kind of build that trust and keep that momentum going. But the best efforts that you can put forward and maintaining those key relationships are definitely what counts. And besides brands in the CPG industry, what other kinds of brands do you think are most likely to increase their prices, and why?
Well, I mean, I think that increasing pricing goes across the board. It's in the service industry. We're seeing increased pricing in gas. It's in B2B. It's the same. It's the same across the board. So whether you're in CPG or you're in other product groups or service groups, every brand is more likely to increase their price. It's a constant game, understanding what your price elasticity is, and it's an ever moving thing. It's quite fluid. It's not tried and true. What you do now is going to last for the next year. You have to be constantly on the game to see what's out there. And it's a mix between how do you bring people in? So how do you drive volume, but keeping your profitability in check? So revenue and profitability, because if you're using price just to drive volume, you're going to hurt your profitability at the end of the day. And you're also going to train consumers to think that you're on sale is your price. And that's a hard place to get out of, as we've seen for many brands. I hope that answered the question. And again, if you want to discuss live after, happy to have a conversation in more detail.
For sure. And I think we have just about time for maybe one more question here. So why are so many big, powerful brands always on sale, like Pepsi, Budweiser, Tide, etc.? Some of those brands are on sale or feature for over 40 weeks in a year.
Yeah, so Pepsi and Coke, they're on sale about 80% of the time. It becomes a commodity. Most consumers, unless you're Diet Coke, will only buy you when you're on sale. So they are big, powerful brands. They also have built the volume, so they actually can be sustained, but still with those brands. And I worked at Coke on big brands for a very long time. You still have to be careful, because you're constantly building your brand while defending against price, building your brand, trying to bring your price up as much as you can, knowing that people demand you to be on sale and that you are almost a commodity product. And you always have to have that balance. And again, I hope that answered the question. Happy to have a conversation offline if you want a little bit more detail on that. We have a lot of insight against how it works, why it works, and how you can properly balance yourself to win in the future.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Vanessa, for showing us all of those insights and really walking us through the power of brand and showing the power that brand and building your brand can have to drive your business forward and impact your ROI. And for everyone that is still here, once again, appreciate you registering and taking the time to be here today. Please join us for Live Will Thrive in September, presented by Don Mayo, our global managing partner, where we're going to be focusing on how to drive your brand success by intercepting consumers in a physically live environment. This is going to be a really exciting one, especially as we continue to transition back into in-person and hybrid and live. So you definitely don't want to miss this one. Once again, you will be finding today's presentation in your inbox early next week. And thank you again for joining us today, and hope you have a great rest of your morning or afternoon or evening or wherever you're watching this from. Thanks again, everyone. Take care.
Thanks so much for joining. Thanks, Jonah.